While fixing the dishwasher on my day off, I heard my wife giggle. He's so handy, yet so broke. Her mother said, I would have left a man that pathetic years ago. My knees were bleeding. I kept going. 2 weeks later, the house was silent when I left the keys on the counter. I wasn't supposed to be home that Thursday morning. That's the part that sticks with me the most. Normally, I'd be at the shop by 7:30 a.m. sharp, same as every weekday, fixing water heaters, checking HVAC units, crawling into basements. But our new apprentice, Jalen, had begged for some extra hours. Said he was saving up for an engagement ring. So I took the morning off. Nothing special planned. Just some chores around the house. The dishwasher had been acting up again, and I figured it was cheaper to fix it myself than call someone. Plus, I liked working with my hands. Always had. I was in sweatpants and a Carhartt t-shirt, lying on the cold tile floor, arms deep inside the base of the dishwasher. I didn't hear them come in. I'd taken the front panel off, and the kick plate had sliced a neat gash across my right knee. I was trying to keep the blood off the tile when I heard the laughter. Then came the voices, low at first, then rising like steam from a boiling pot. Sheesh, he's still under that thing. My wife, Brielle, giggled. He's so handy, yet so broke. Then her mother, Gloria, with her unmistakable rasp from years of Marlboro Reds, muttered, I would have left a man that pathetic years ago. I don't remember breathing. I just remember the metallic taste in my mouth, like I'd bit into a penny. They were in the kitchen, less than 8 feet from me. They didn't know I was home. I stayed perfectly still, not because I was being sneaky, but because something in me snapped, froze, like my mind couldn't quite connect the dots. I heard Brielle pour coffee. It's not that he's a bad guy. He's just stuck, always fixing other people's problems, never fixing his own, and he makes barely enough. I swear, Mom, if we didn't have your help with the credit cards last month, Gloria scoffed. You should have married a lawyer, or at least someone with a spine. I know, Brielle said, but back then, it felt romantic. He was this hardworking guy who made me feel safe. And now I feel trapped. Silence. I don't remember how long I stayed there. My knees throbbed. My hands were wet from the leak. I was trembling. Eventually, they went upstairs. I finished fixing the dishwasher. 2 weeks later, I left the keys on the counter. But let me back up. I'm Kalen, 42, born and raised in Fall River, Massachusetts. Grew up working class. My dad was a welder, my mom a CNA at St. Anne's. I started working right after high school. Opened my own HVAC and plumbing service by 28. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. I met Brielle at a wedding in Newport. She was dazzling. Dark curly hair, sharp green eyes, and this laugh that could thaw glaciers. She was out of my league, and I knew it. But she seemed drawn to my steadiness. Said I made her feel anchored. We got married 2 years later. That was 7 years ago. In the beginning, we were a good team. We weren't rich, but we made it work. I covered the bills, and she handled the finances. She worked in marketing, remote job, flexible hours. Everything looked good on paper. But over time, little cracks started forming. The house always felt tense. Not outright hostile, but like walking on creaky floorboards at night. You didn't know what would set it off. She started going out more. Long brunches. Girls' weekends. Her phone always face down. I didn't snoop. I didn't pry. I figured she needed space. That morning, bleeding on the floor while they mocked me, was my line in the sand. I didn't confront her right away. I waited. I watched. I listened. And I started remembering things. Like how Brielle used to brag about me to her friends. Now she barely mentioned my name. Or how her phone used to ding with texts from me. Now, she turned away from the screen when I walked in. The final straw came the following Saturday. She was in the shower. I wasn't looking for anything. I swear I wasn't. But her tablet was open on the kitchen counter. A message popped up from someone saved as Elliot, client. Last night was unreal. I can still taste you. Another message followed. Can't wait for the hotel next weekend. Same room. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't take screenshots. Didn't need to. I wasn't building a case for court. I was building my exit. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. Instead, I got quiet. I started packing little by little. Things she wouldn't notice. My tools, clothes, my father's watch. I found a sublet on Craigslist in Somerset, small studio above a garage, month-to-month lease. I told her I had a big out-of-town job and might be gone a few days. She barely looked up from her phone. On the morning I left, I woke up early. I made coffee like I always did. I fixed the leaky faucet in the guest bathroom. I took out the trash. Then, I wrote a note. The dishwasher works now. So does my gut. Thanks for teaching me the difference. Kalen. I left my wedding ring on top of the note. Then, I placed the keys on the counter, locked the door, and walked out. The silence in that house was deafening. 3 months later, I'm writing this from my new place. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. There's a smell of sawdust and coffee in the air, and the windows rattle when trucks pass. But it's peaceful. I see my dog, Rocco, on weekends. Brielle didn't want to keep him. Said he was too needy. I've lost 15 pounds. Started boxing again at a gym in New Bedford. I haven't touched alcohol since I left. My skin is clearer. My chest feels lighter. And for the first time in years, I don't wake up dreading the day. She tried calling twice. I didn't answer. Her mom emailed me once, said I was immature for abandoning my responsibilities. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. Sometimes I wonder if I should have fought harder. If I should have confronted her, aired it all out. But then I remember that giggle, that mocking laugh. And I realize, some people aren't worth the noise. If you've read this far, thanks. I guess I needed to get it out. Maybe someone out there is lying on the floor, bleeding from their knees, trying to fix something that doesn't want to be fixed. To you, I say this, walk away. Quietly. With dignity. And when you do, leave the keys on the counter. My wife and her mom mocked me while I was bleeding and fixing our dishwasher. She was cheating. I found out. I quietly packed up, fixed what needed fixing, left a note, and walked out. Never looked back. Happier now. I don't think I'll ever forget that sound. It was a weird mix of a laugh and a whisper. Almost like a secret being told just a little too loud. I was half under the dishwasher, elbow deep in grease and hard water residue, cursing myself for not replacing the inlet valve when I had the chance. I had a flashlight balanced between my shoulder and cheek, the light flickering like it was taunting me. And then I heard it. He's so handy, yet so broke. At first, I thought I imagined it. You know when you've been awake too long and your mind starts pulling tricks on you? I paused, blinked, and listened. Then her mother chimed in. I would have left a man that pathetic years ago. Their voices drifted from the kitchen like they were talking about the weather. Like I wasn't right there, bleeding from both knees, because I slipped on the tile and smacked them hard on the cabinet's bottom trim 10 minutes earlier. I didn't even breathe. I just froze. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And it wasn't just the words, it was the tone. Dismissive. Like I was a bad handyman they'd hired off Craigslist who'd overstayed his welcome. There was a clinking sound. Probably the sugar spoon tapping against her mug. Then the chair creaked. I mean, it's like living with a polite, quiet ghost, Brielle said. He's always around, fixing things, cooking sometimes. But it's like, I don't know, emotionally absent. And God, Mom, we are broke. I don't think he even realizes how much we're behind on the credit cards. I told you, sweetheart, Gloria responded. Marrying a tradesman might seem romantic at first, but it doesn't age well. You need a man who knows how to build a future, not just patch leaks. I swear I felt something in my chest fold in on itself. Like a paper bag crushed underfoot. I laid there, pretending to tighten something that was already tight. Every part of me wanted to burst up and yell, demand answers, ask how long they'd both been harboring this bile. But I didn't. Instead, I kept going. I finished the job, replaced the intake valve, cleared the drain hose, wiped my fingerprints off the stainless steel finish because I couldn't stand the idea of her touching it and thinking of me. I limped out, knees bleeding through my sweatpants. She barely looked at me. Oh, you're still working on that? She asked, surprised. Just finished, I muttered. Should run better now. She gave me a brief nod, then turned back to her mom. Like I was the help. No thanks, no kiss, no recognition that I'd spent the better part of 2 hours repairing the same dishwasher we couldn't afford to replace. The next few days were foggy. I went to work, kept to myself. My buddy Manny at the shop asked if I was sleeping all right. I wasn't. I just told him I had a stomach bug. I started noticing more things. Her phone always face down. She'd laugh at text messages she didn't show me. Started wearing perfume again, just to go grocery shopping. And on Sunday night, she came home late from drinks with a friend. No explanation. Just walked in smelling like whiskey and mint, tossed her bag on the couch, and went straight to the shower. Something clicked. I wasn't stupid. I just didn't want to see it before. That night, while she was asleep, I walked around the house. Looked at everything we'd built, or tried to build. The photo on the mantle of our honeymoon in Bar Harbor. The framed home sweet home sign she insisted we get from that overpriced antique shop in Provincetown. And I thought, how the heck did we get here? 7 years ago, we were on a beach in Maine, drinking cheap beer and dreaming about kids and weekend road trips. Now she was sleeping with her back to me, arms folded like I was a stranger in her bed. I didn't sleep that night. I got up at 4 a.m., made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table. The silence was heavy. Around 6, I made up my mind. I wasn't going to fight for this anymore. I didn't storm out. I didn't scream. I started small. Over the next few days, I slowly packed my tools, one bag at a time. Took down the photo of my dad from the garage wall. Boxed up the cufflinks Brielle gave me for our anniversary. I deleted my name off the Wi-Fi account. Took my old leather jacket from the back of the closet. She didn't notice. Or if she did, she didn't ask. One night, I came home from a late job, and she was in the living room. On the phone. She didn't see me standing in the hallway. No, he doesn't suspect anything, she whispered. Honestly, I think he's just given up. He's always tired now. Just goes to work, fixes things, and comes home to pass out. A pause. No, not this weekend. I can't risk it. Maybe next. Hotel, or your place. I walked out before she saw me. Sat in the truck and just stared out the windshield. I don't know how long I was out there. Long enough for the windshield to fog up. That night, I emailed an old buddy, Chris, who had a room above his garage in Somerset. Said he'd rent it month to month, no lease. Gave me the code to the lockbox. I didn't tell her anything. I waited for the right morning. It was a Tuesday. I remember because it rained and the gutters overflowed, and I almost stayed to fix them. But I didn't. I packed the last of my stuff before sunrise. Took the coffee off the stove. Wrote a note. The dishwasher works. So do my eyes now. I'll be gone by the time you read this. Kaylin. I left it under her mug. Set the house keys on the counter. I stood at the doorway for a second, just looking at the kitchen. The one I tiled myself. The walls I painted. The lights I installed. And I walked out. No goodbye. No confrontation. Just silence. It's strange how quiet the world is when you leave something behind. I drove for nearly an hour without the radio on, just listening to the hum of the tires and the occasional slap of rain against the windshield. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even think, really. Just drove, like muscle memory. Chris's place was tucked behind an old Cape-style house on a dead-end street near the Taunton River. The apartment above his garage had sloped ceilings and drafty windows, but it was warm and clean. It smelled like cedar and oil from the garage downstairs. He met me at the door, already holding a mug of coffee. "You okay?" he asked, handing it to me. I took it with both hands. Nodded. Not really. He didn't push. Just gave me a pat on the shoulder and let me sit in silence. I stayed in that apartment for the next few weeks. Didn't tell many people. Just the ones who mattered. My mom knew something was wrong the first time we talked. "Are you and Brielle all right?" she asked gently. "We're done," I said. "At least I am." She sighed. I had a feeling. That girl's smile stopped reaching her eyes a long time ago. I didn't check social media. Didn't stalk her accounts. I knew I didn't want to see the curated version of her life. The brunches, the smiling selfies, the captioned lies. But then one of Brielle's old co-workers, Alondra, reached out. We'd spoken a handful of times over the years, mostly at barbecues or holiday dinners. She sent me a text. "Hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I overheard some things at the office a while back. I should have said something sooner. You didn't deserve that." I didn't respond right away. A couple days later, I did. Appreciate it. I think I needed to see it for myself. 3 weeks after I left, I got a voicemail from Brielle. Just one. "Kaylin." She exhaled sharply. "I saw the note. And I know you're gone. I don't even know what to say. I didn't expect you to. Just leave. Can we talk?" I deleted it. Not out of anger, but because I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of getting to explain her betrayal on her terms. For so long, I'd been the guy who stayed calm, who tried to fix things, even when he was the only one trying. Not anymore. I started doing more side work. Cash jobs from people who didn't mind paying a few extra bucks for quick, solid repairs. Chris let me use his truck when mine broke down. I picked up a gym membership and started boxing again. It was weird at first. Waking up alone. Cooking for one. Not hearing the click of her heels down the hallway, or the fake laugh she'd use on phone calls. But slowly, the silence started to feel like peace. I kept thinking about that moment, the dishwasher moment. It played on a loop in my head for a while. Not because of what was said, but because it stripped everything down to the truth. I heard who she was when she thought I couldn't hear her. And that's the most honest thing I'd gotten in years. One day, I ran into her brother, Zane, at the gas station off Route 6. I almost didn't recognize him. He looked thinner, more tired. He spotted me first. Walked over cautiously. "Hey, Kaylin," he said. "Didn't expect to see you out here." "Yeah," I said. "Been working on a place nearby." He hesitated. I just want to say I'm sorry, man. I heard about what happened. I didn't know she was." He paused. "She said you just left." "Sounds about right," I muttered. Zane rubbed the back of his neck. "I always liked you. Honestly, I figured if anyone was going to ground her, it'd be you. She's always been like that. Looks for more even when she's got enough." I nodded. "Some people don't realize what they have until it's gone." He sighed. "Well, if you ever want to grab a beer, catch a game or something, let me know." That night, I did grab a beer, with Chris, actually. We sat on the hood of the truck, watching the river swell after a heavy rain, talking about nothing and everything. "You know," he said after a long silence, "you're different now. Calmer. But also lighter." "I feel lighter," I said. "Like I stopped dragging a couch up a hill." He laughed. "That's one heck of a metaphor." 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name written in her handwriting. I didn't open it right away. Let it sit on the counter for 3 days. When I finally did, it was 3 pages long. She wrote about how she missed me. How she didn't know she'd pushed me that far. How maybe they'd taken me for granted. How she didn't understand what it meant to be truly partnered until I wasn't there fixing everything anymore. She said she was sorry. She said she didn't know who she was without me. She asked if I'd meet her for coffee. Just to talk. I folded the letter. Set it in the drawer. I didn't respond. Not because I hate her, but because some people don't get to rewrite the ending after they've ripped up the pages. About a week after I got the letter, she tried calling again. No voicemail this time. Just a missed call at 10:47 p.m. Late enough that it felt like it came from guilt, not courage. I stared at the screen, her name lighting up in the dim corner of the room I'd turned into a makeshift office. For a second, I thought about picking up, just to hear what kind of voice she'd use. But then I remembered that day in the kitchen, her, inglorious sipping coffee like it was Sunday brunch, talking about me like I was a disappointing Yelp review. That voice. I'd already heard enough of it. I turned my phone over and went back to updating invoices. Around that time, I started seeing a woman named Anna. It wasn't serious, not at first. We met through a client, actually. She was the daughter of a woman whose sink I'd fixed in Tiverton. We'd bumped into each other twice before she asked if I wanted to grab coffee. I said yes, mostly because something in her energy felt peaceful. She was a nurse. ER. No nonsense. Wore her hair tied up, always carried pins in her jacket pocket, and smelled faintly of eucalyptus. On our second coffee, she said something that stuck with me. You don't talk much about yourself. I smiled. There's not much to say. She tilted her head. There's always something to say. But I get it. Some things are quieter after they break. I don't know why, but I nearly teared up at that. First time in a long time that someone said something that didn't sound like judgment or pity, just observation. Clean. Kind. We started seeing each other casually. No pressure, no big expectations. Sometimes she'd show up after her shift with takeout and stories from the ER. I'd make coffee and rub her shoulders while she vented about paperwork and short-staffed nights. It was easy. She never asked about Brielle. Never pried. And I think that's what I needed most. Someone who let the silence between us feel normal, not suspicious. One night, I told her the dishwasher story. The whole thing. From the first giggle to the bleeding knees. Her eyes didn't widen. She didn't gasp or shake her head. She just exhaled, leaned back, and said, "Goddamn." That was it. No analysis. No trying to fix it. Just goddamn. I laughed harder than I had in months. Meanwhile, back at the house I used to call home, Brielle started popping up in mutual circles again. Chris mentioned he saw her at a friend's engagement party. Said she looked tired. Different. She was asking about you. He added casually while we were working on a busted water heater. Didn't push or anything. Just said, "How's Kaylin doing?" I said you were doing all right. Good, I said. That's all she needs to know. Didn't look like she liked the answer much, he smirked. You ever think about going back? I gave him a look. No, I said. Not even once. And I meant it. But just because I didn't want to go back doesn't mean it didn't haunt me sometimes. I still had dreams, not about her exactly, but about the life we'd built. The routines. The smell of her shampoo. The sound of her humming in the shower. I'd wake up in a sweat, unsure whether it was nostalgia or regret. Then I'd get up, pour coffee, and remind myself, it wasn't real. Not all of it. Maybe parts were. But what kind of love turns into cruelty the moment you stop performing? What kind of wife lets her mother laugh at her husband while he bleeds on the floor? That wasn't a home. That was a theater. And I was done being the quiet prop. Anna and I started spending more time together. She helped me clean up the apartment, added little touches, candles, throw pillows, a plant I always forgot to water. She cooked once a week, usually something spicy and way above my pay grade, like homemade Thai curry or lamb stew with coriander. One night, we sat on the couch, her legs draped over mine, and she asked, "You think you'll ever go back to that house?" "Hell no," I said. "To grab anything?" I shook my head. Everything I needed, I already took. She nodded. Then, after a beat, said quietly, "What about your closure?" I looked at her. Sometimes you don't need closure. Sometimes you just need peace. She smiled at that. Peace looks good on you. It was around Christmas when Brielle emailed again. Not a long message this time. Just a paragraph. "I know you probably hate me. And maybe I deserve that. But if you ever feel like talking, even just for 10 minutes, I'd like to apologize properly. I wasn't fair to you. And I think I finally see that. There was no attachment. No manipulation. Just words. But I didn't answer. Not out of spite, but because I had nothing left to say. My silence wasn't revenge. It was relief. It was clarity. Funny how people don't notice the weight they've put on you until you shrug it off. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't a victim either. I probably missed things. Probably let things slide when I shouldn't have. But I tried. I showed up. I bled to keep something running that was already broken. And that should have meant something. But to her, it didn't. To Anna, it did. And maybe that's the difference.